to Libertalia Game Supply. I figured I would do like maybe a combo tutorial, how to play type of quick little video. I don't know how quick it'll be, but I just want to talk about like how I play the deck. So I've got a couple profiles up on here now, and I think I explain in a very wordy way what it is I'm trying to do, but it's probably easier to just show what it is that I do with the deck to make some of the ratios and card choices make a little bit more sense. So I just got a stack of some of the stuff we're going to use here, but I want to go over whatever your standard lines of play are, what I'm looking to see in an opening hand. So obviously Torifun is the guy. You want this. He's number one. There are ways to play your combos without him, but that's the main one you want. The problem is that you can only play 3 of a card. Tenki's at 1, Desires is at 1. There's not really any other good ways to search it. I had considered Peacock at a time, but you can only use Peacock's search effect in main phase 2, which is pretty crap. It's just too slow. It's not good enough. It's not worth playing. But for this basic, like assuming everything went to plan, in order to make this combo go, this first one here, you need your 1 Torifun, and you need any extenders. So your extenders are going to be another one of Monster Reborn, Harume, or Haruko. These are going to be the best ones. If you can get this plus any one of these 3, you're golden. You got the F-Zero combo. Some of your secondary ones would be like these 2, and I'll go over how these guys are going to work in a minute here. But the reason these are secondary is because they require more setup. So I guess Harume would require something in the graveyard, but you get that just based off of Torifun using its effect to special summon 2 monsters. So then you would just banish the Torifun to summon the Harume if that's the one you had. With these ones, you need a second or third, maybe, an additional discard outlet that is a Bujin card to summon this thing from your hand. So you would need Torifun, Mahitatsu, plus 1 other of any Bujin card in your deck. And for this, you would need a banish to trigger. So if you didn't have these, right, you would need something in the graveyard that can banish itself in order to trigger its special summon effects. So these are going to be less useful unless those conditions are met. So for now, we'll say we open these 2, and the combo is essentially the same no matter what. So if you open, we'll get rid of the Reborn for now. If you open Torifun and Haruko, once you make Susan, you're going to search the Harume. If you open the Harume, once you make Susan, you're going to search the Haruko. So turn 1, everything went perfect. We normal summon our Torifun. Effect to tribute itself to special summon 2. Let me see. So the 2 you summon got to be one of your Beast Warriors and then one of your Bujingis. We'll say, so typically what I've been going into lately, which if you have this in your hand already, I wouldn't summon it, but getting this on the board is really nice. It's really good at setting up some advantage. So I'll summon the Mahitatsu or just a body like Yamato or Mikazuchi, and then you're going to pick one of your Bujingis that you think you need. So if it's a back row heavy deck, you're probably looking at Quillen or Centipede. If you're going to be doing a lot of attacking, you're probably looking at Sinew, and then the hair is always just safe because it's good protection. So we'll say the hair for this one. So we summon our 2. At this point, because I use the Mahitatsu, this thing's effect is pretty great. You're gonna, you can't use it at this, you can. So you can use the effect to banish your Torifun from the graveyard in order to send one from your deck to the graveyard. So this would be how I start creating that advantage I was talking about with this card. So, you tribute Torifun, you got your 2, you banish the Torifun for Mahitatsu's effect, and then you send the other one. So maybe you also want your Centipede, so you send your Centipede to the grave, and then you have these 2 bodies on board. You're going to overlay. We'll get our Susan. So on Susan, which one did we say? We'll say we had the, it doesn't matter. We say we had the Haruko in hand. You're just going to detach your Bujingi material to search the others. So now these are both in hand. One we drew into in the open, one we just searched. You're going to use the effect of Haruko. It's going to banish itself to rank up your Susan into Amaterasu. Then you're going to use Amaterasu's effect, so at this point you can detach whatever material you want, and you're going to special summon one of your banished cards. So it doesn't really matter in this scenario because of Mahitatsu. You can get the Torifun back. I guess if you wanted to do that, you could, and then you can use its graveyard effect if you ended up wanting that effect to banish stuff. So we got another body. Now having this extra one in hand is where the combo continues. So you're going to banish one. Whatever that second material is that you detach from Amaterasu is what you're going to banish to special summon Harume. Now we have two more bodies. We're going to go overlay. So here you have a couple of decisions. So you can go Susanoo again to search again, or depending on your hand, maybe you will go Tsukiyomi, so that you can discard your hand and draw 2 new cards. So if your hand is garbage or really heavy on Bujingis or whatever, you would do that in order to set up the graveyard a little bit more and also fill up that hand or dig for something else. In this case, because it's 2 Beast Warriors, which you can kind of set up, right? Because this is going to get banished off of that Mahitatsu. The material, you always are going to have a Beast Warrior in the material, so you just make sure you detach it. And then the Haruko is a Beast Warrior, also the rank up card. So you can also go into your Kagutsuchi. So if you don't plan on going full F-Zero, you go Kagutsuchi, mill 5, he gains some attack, he's some protection on board. This thing kind of sucks on the field once you've used its effect. You could do it a second time, or you can on your opponent's turn grab one of your banished cards, put it back in your hand. It's just not that good. Like, it doesn't generate enough advantage at the right moment after you've used it the first time to really be worth leaving on the board, so I typically don't. You could also go Tiger King and then search your Tensu or search your Tenki to then search something else, another extender, get the extra normal summon for whatever you got. But for now, we'll say we just went with the Susanoo for the search, right? So then I would probably use the effect of Susanoo to get another search. Let's say we'll grab the other Haruko. Where did I put it? All right. So even if you didn't have the 2 Beast Warriors, say you just were in a tight spot, whatever reason you misplayed, you can still just make the Susanoo, use the second Haruko as not once per turn to rank it up into one of the other ones. So maybe you would go rank up into the Kagutsuchi or rank up into the Tsukiyomi, right? And then we'll say we use Tsukiyomi's effect to discard our hand and draw 2. So now here you have your F-Zero materials, right? These 2 will go to the graveyard. Then you'll have your little F-Zero, big F-Zero, and you've made a big bad F-Zero just off of a 2-card combo. So that's like your ideal play. So now there's other ways to get to that, and obviously other lines of play. Making the F-Zero is typically like, I'll do it turn 1 because I just want to create advantage as quickly as possible. And by advantage, I mean I need as many like floodgate, like shutdown cards. So it's going to be F-Zero plus like strike, Forbidden Chalice, Imperm, stuff like that in the back row, because I want to just say no to you at every turn on your turn. If you're going second, if you happen to draw a hand of mostly, we'll say, Bujingis, and your graveyard setup is really solid, you probably don't want to waste all that graveyard setup on making an F-Zero, because your Bujingi effects don't affect the F-Zero, obviously, right? So you would make the F-Zero turn 1, assuming you only did that 2-card combo, you only had the 2 Bujingis in the grave, so they're still there for your next turn, but your F-Zero is probably going to survive until your next turn anyway, and then it's just like building off of that base. So let's see here. Let's go over the Arasuda and Harume. Where is it? All right, so we got these 2. So these can also be a really nice starter set. So for a while now, and really until recently, Harume was the trigger I was using. Oh, sorry, jostling you all about. Harume was the trigger I was using to make Arasuda activate. So you would want 1 and 1, banish 1 to special, special summon off the banish, and then you go from there. But it's kind of less valuable in terms of like the advantage you can generate than having these 2. So maybe it's a slightly harder effect to pull off, but not even, because it requires the same amount of setup, right? This, you need something in your hand, this, you need something in your graveyard, and this has an effect on it on top of having that special summon effect that makes it good, where Harume doesn't. So I would say 3 and 3 is probably a reasonable ratio to look at in the future, and I'll be making that change also. But basically you need these two plus any other Bujin card, and we'll say it was not a great draw, right? We didn't just end up with tons and tons of advantage. We drew into something we don't want to have to discard. We'll say the Crane. So you're going to use Mahitatsu's effect. You're going to discard your Crane to special summon. Then you're going to use Mahitatsu's effect to banish the Crane. Boom, goodbye Crane, to send one to the graveyard. So now even if you opened up not having something super good sorry, I'm getting distracted trying to look through all my various stacks of cards. If you open with something not very good to put in the graveyard off of Mahitatsu's effect, you can just correct it. So you can banish that Crane, and we'll say we're going to put a Hare in the graveyard instead. Off of that banish, as cost, you're going to special summon the Arasuda, right? So now you have your 2 bodies on board again. You have your Hare in the graveyard, and you can continue your play. So obviously you don't have the same kind of extending ability without the extra extender in hand. So like you would want these 2 plus something to discard, plus, you know, your Reborn, your Tenki, your whatever. But for now, this is fine, right? You can overlay, you can make Susanoo, you can make, usually if you're stuck with not having much to work with here, like this, so like I don't really want to leave this on board at the end phase, because it's going to be a little bit easier to destroy this. It doesn't have a lot of built-in protection. You have the 1 Hare and you have the 1 Search, so you could leave it here, detach 1, and either send the Sinew to grave, or if you didn't discard the Crane earlier, obviously add the Crane to hand or whatever, or you know, back row hate or whatever you want to do. Or you would detach to grab your rank up card, your Haruko, and then you're going to rake up that Susanoo into something else, right? So if you're feeling the heart of the cards, maybe you go Tsukiyomi, discard that hand, and try to dig into something else. So if you draw an extender here, you're in pretty good shape. But more often than not, where did I put it now? More often than not, we're probably looking at Kagutsuchi here, ranking up into Kagutsuchi, mill your 5. He's got built-in protection, so you're going to get the detach to prevent him from being destroyed. It's not once per turn, so technically at this point you have Hare plus his 2 detaches, so he can survive 3 times, unless they get banished, obviously. But if you're worried about banishing effects, just make that Hare a turtle at the beginning. Well, it'd be a targeting banishing effect, but make it a turtle at the beginning instead of a Hare, and you're good to go. That's probably more of a game 2 call though, right? So you have your protection, you're filling up that graveyard. Typically you're milling some of your Bujingis or something, so he's going to be above 2,500. I would say typically, you know, 27, 2,800 with a little extra effect action in the graveyard, right? Like maybe you mill the Quillen, maybe you mill the Sinew. So that's just a really nice 2-card play to have in your hand. But I just wanted to quickly demonstrate some of the things you can do with the deck. There's a lot of lines to play, and there's a lot of ways to play around certain boards. The biggest problem you're going to run into is you're going to have meta decks that just outpace you no matter what you do. So it's just a matter of trying to anticipate and put a board together ahead of it. So that's what the F-Zero is. Sometimes you even get lucky and you draw the absolute nuts. You can make a board of F-Zero and Kagutsuchi, and at that point you kind of just win, because Kagutsuchi is going to prevent itself from being destroyed. It's a pretty big body. F-Zero is going to shut everything off, and then you just start building up that back row, and it just is nasty. Like, really, really hard to play around, and I like being able to set something like that up. So obviously that's not going to be like a, oh, get a 2-card combo in your hand and you're going to make this. That's going to be very situational. Like, you open super good, and that's going to be like one of the best outcomes you can have is F-Zero, Kagutsuchi, and some back row. But I just wanted to give some insight on how I play the deck, and maybe give you guys some ideas on how you can play the deck. But yeah, for sure, I don't know how I hadn't really thought about it prior to, you know, I was actually just sitting in class one day thinking about the deck and not thinking about school. That's not great, but you know what I mean. And I was thinking, like, man, I bet you could just use that Mahitatsu effect to trigger the Arasuda. Like, well, yeah, you could, and so then, and it's better than Harume. What if we cut the Harume to 1? What if we bump the Arasuda to 3? And I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. I end up trying And so it worked out really well, just very briefly testing, but we'll keep working on that in the future. I suppose if we were to get Tenki back to 2 or 3 in the future, I don't know that I would even change that, because it's a nice little 2-card combo, I guess 2.5 card combo that you can get in your opening hand fairly easily, because Mahitatsu and Arasuda are 3-ofs. You know, it's a little bit better than just, you know, Torifun or bust, right? But thank you guys for hanging out, checking this out. Let me know if you have any thoughts or ideas or opinions on the deck, or anything else you'd like to see in the future. If you found this helpful in any way, maybe give me a subscribe, you know, throw me a bone, right? Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a nice day.